So yeah, I'm super excited to present to you our friend Giovanna Minnena. She's an incredible entrepreneur and leader within the Winnipeg community, and now I believe the national and international community, and someone that I look up to personally and professionally. So I'm really excited to join us tonight and to hear some of the tidbits that you have to offer on how to be an extraordinary leader. And I think it's something that can help all of us, whether it's in our business or if we're a wellness coach or a fitness coach or in our personal relationships. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to you, G.
Awesome. Thank you, Grant. I just want to start off by saying thank you for having me. Thank you, everyone who has joined and who's here to listen. I think it's pretty cool. This is my first webinar, so I hope you guys can bear with me through my learning curve as well. Tonight, I'm just going to be going through a bit of a presentation on leadership and kind of giving you guys a broad view of what leadership is in my perspective and through my personal life experiences and the things that I've pulled out of leadership in terms of running my own business and my multiple businesses that I have now and how it has, directly affected my success. Also, there's a little question box at the bottom, I believe. So if you guys have questions along the way, make sure to write it in there. And at the very end, we'll go through and do a Q&A. I do want to leave enough time so that everyone can have their questions answered. So I'm hoping to get through the presentation in about 30 minutes or so. And then we can use the rest of the time because I think that's where the magic is in the Q&A. So yeah, without further ado, I'm just going to pull out my presentation. Can everyone see that? Grant, can you just let me know if you can see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, guys. So as you see on the screen here, not to get confused, Simple Growth is a new program I'm going to be launching a few months from now. It's for entrepreneurs who are interested in learning how to grow a business from the ground up and everything you need along the way. So this is a presentation that we give in the program as well. So I'm really excited to showcase it here with all of you. All right. So I want to start off with defining leadership. And for me, to define leadership has been such a journey in my life because I had a rude awakening when I started my business as to what true leadership is all about. I really believe it's probably one of the most challenging things that you can do in your life and one of the most rewarding. So you have super high highs, very low lows, especially with business and teams. And I know for most people, the thought of being a leader can be very, very daunting and very scary. Or it's super exciting and they can't wait to get started. And, for the most part, I can say it's definitely both. So for me, I want to go through my personal story because I think that plays a huge part in my leadership, the way I view leadership and the way I take part in leadership. So for me, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, especially when I first started my business. And I started my business back in 2015. And at that time, when I started it, I thought, I'm going to work just by myself. I'm not going to have any employees. And, the way that universe works, I ended up bringing on employees. It was fantastic, but I had to quickly learn how to motivate a team, especially my own team, towards certain goals and things within the company. And when I first started my business, my biggest mistakes were that I gave everything to the people that were working for me. I basically said, choose your own schedule, do whatever you want. I want you to feel like this is the best place in the whole world to work because you get everything that you want. And I paid them really well, actually too well, to the point where if I continued to do that, I probably wouldn't have had a business today. And a lot of those things that I were doing were completely based out of insecurity. It was a place for me where I just wanted, in my mind, to create this perfect environment. This environment where people would love working for me. They loved coming to work. It was positive. Everything's perfect, perfect, perfect all the time. And when reality hit, that's definitely not the case. When you start to give people absolutely everything, honestly, at the end, what is there to work for anymore? What's the reason why people are coming together? I truly lost the core of why I started my business in the beginning. And that was one of the biggest lessons that I had. And my biggest fear throughout the entire thing was, I really don't want these people to leave. I really want them to love what they do. I really want them to love working for me. And when I had people start to leave, it was because I wasn't fulfilling the need as a leader. I wasn't coming through and having hard conversations. I was scared to hurt people's feelings. I was super afraid of, rocking the boat. And I felt like I was walking on eggshells with every situation. And that just caused more and more animosity and uncertainty and a divide between everything that I was trying to do and where I was going and getting everybody on board with me. So through that, my biggest fear actually ended up happening and people actually ended up leaving. And for me, that was so hard. It was soul crushing. It was to the point where I felt like, should I even continue doing what I'm doing anymore? And so after that happened, it was a huge life event that made me rethink and reevaluate exactly what I was doing. And this is where I become so passionate about leadership, is because when you start to embody the true meaning of what it is to be a leader and start to live it every single day and practice it every single day, slowly you start to see the benefits of what true leadership can do. And it really is for people who want to make a difference in other people's lives, who want other people to benefit and to do really well in their own lives. And that's a direct reflection of your own success. So, long story short, after I had that life event happen, when I reevaluated what I wanted to bring into my business, that was probably one of the biggest lessons I could have learned in business and in leadership, is the fact that you need to listen to you are as an individual, what your core values are, your why you began, why you started, and from there start to push your vision out there. And now a lot of people have this misconception that you have to have a certain title, a certain position, a certain social standing to be a leader. But the truth is that not everyone needs to have that to be positioned as a leader. It's such a misconception that I'm so passionate about, is that every day people have the chance to show leadership. Every day people have the power to step into their power and show the world what they're capable of by helping others, by being generous, by doing the things that are really difficult sometimes. And so today I'm really excited to, share with you how you can use these skills in both your career and in your life, and how leadership is truly just intertwined in everything that we do in life. So some actionable takeaways I want to make sure that you guys have today are the steps to develop as an effective leader and the tools and techniques you can begin practicing right away. Awesome. Okay, so today we're going to define leadership. We are going to design the culture that you are wanting to put out there and the type of leader you want to be. We're going to figure out how to build your people. What does that leadership actually look like? And then creating connection, that human connection. The most important part is relationships. So let's get into it. All right, so what is leadership? So the definition I have here is leadership is a practice of social influence which amplifies the efforts of others towards the achievement of a goal. Now, this definition is so important to me because you can see here in the elements of the definition that leadership stems from social influence, not authority, not power. It's so funny that people think that if you're in power, you immediately are a leader. And that is definitely not the case. people in power sometimes don't earn the respect of those who are working for them or those they are supposedly leading. So it's not necessarily simultaneous in its relationship. Leadership requires others, and that implies that they don't need to be direct reports. So as a leader, it's really important to know that it's not about you, and you actually need people to make this whole ecosystem complete. There's no mention of personality traits, attributes, or even a title. There are many styles, paths to effective leadership. And that's something I really want to get across today, is that finding your own unique path to leadership is going to be so important and so magical when you find it, because it's really going to show who you are at the core and what your core values are. It includes a goal, not influence with no intended outcomes. So goals are really important, but I truly believe that growth is more important, and we'll get into that. Look at the questions and answers on the next slide, and then we're gonna make a list that applies to your own business. We'll go through that after. Okay, the next thing I wanna go over is that leadership and management are not the same thing. A lot of people get it confused, and it's very different. So I want to define the differences to make that clear so that people understand a manager is not necessarily a leader, but they can be. So it can go and coincide. So leaders inspire, develop, connect, question, and care. Managers plan, measure, monitor, solve, hire, fire, and they have so many other things. And managers are so important, but just because you can manage really well doesn't mean you're an effective leader. And so generally the main differences between them are, leadership, usually not a title or position. Management usually is. Leadership creates a vision. Management creates goals. Leadership builds relationships, and management builds systems and processes. And both are very important. And when you can merge them together, it is just like the most magical thing. So if you guys are really effective managers and learn how to integrate leadership into your process, you can just have such an amazing team and connection with the people you are leading. All right. What makes a good leader? So for me, being a great leader is about genuine willingness and a commitment to lead others to achieve a common vision through positive influence. So what that means is you have to be really, really willing to do the self-work, because if you're not doing your self-work, how you show up for other people becomes very evident very quickly. And so you can only help others when you start to help yourself. So that willingness to want to grow and learn and be better and do better will only translate to the people that you're leading. So understanding that you're not in it alone has been probably one of my biggest challenges in business and in life, is that I tend to be the type of person who secludes myself from large groups of people or group things, because sometimes I just feel like, I can do this better on my own, or maybe if I do this on my own, it'll just be easier than trying to deal with a bunch of people. But the reality is that you can only go so far by yourself. So by gathering a group of people and coming together to form a common vision, and everyone working together to, achieve that goal and that vision, it is so, so incredible what happens when that ecosystem starts to come together and people start working together and you finally achieve a goal together and you can celebrate together. It's just so fantastic. So doing that work yourself, showing up for other people, and being able to work in a team environment and in a group and understanding the dynamics that are there are just so important as a leader, and understanding your people in that. So you really, as a leader, want to add value to your people. You want to encourage your people. You want to practice shared thinking, because, everyone has fantastic ideas. Everyone has great ideas. And to think that, I have better ideas than somebody else, it's not the right mindset to be in. So it's really important that practicing of shared thinking is there, because somebody might come up with a really great idea that you never thought about. And to have that there is so, so powerful to help you see different perspectives and be willing to see something from a different point of view. It's really important to make the effort to understand other people and see things from their point of view. And the most important thing, I think, for me in leadership is wanting other people to succeed. Because when I see other people succeeding from little things that I might have helped them do, or, assisted them on their path, or just, lend them a helping hand, and they succeed, that is also my success. So it's important to understand that, success of others doesn't diminish your own success. If you can put people before you and allow them to receive the praise and not need that recognition, that's a true leader, I believe, at the end of the day, is the ability to step back and know what you've done is good enough for you. The last thing on this is they keep their motives true. And so regardless of, the obstacles put in front of you or the hardships that are put in front of you, what are you showing up as every single day, and how are you showing up is so important. Because if you keep your motives true and your intention behind what you do is true, I promise you that positive flow, and it'll come back to you. It will come back to you. All right. So the lessons in leadership, the biggest things I've learned have been to first, and I'm going to go through these in greater detail, is to first base decisions on the organization, to be invested in your people's growth, to have the hard conversations, take the emotion out of it. It's hard because trust is earned and not given, and willingness and attitude cannot be taught. So I just want to come back to this. So the first thing is base the decision on the organization. So regardless of any hard situations that come up, or challenging things that might face your career, your business, your life, whatever you're basing your decisions on, or things that you're talking about, what are you putting first in the grand scheme of things? When I first started Browse by G, I was putting the people who worked for me first. I wasn't putting the organization first. I wasn't putting my clients first. I was putting the people first. And by doing that, it really, really hurt the organization. And so when you are leading a team, especially in a business or in anything that you're doing, the organization should come first, then your people, then yourself. And I just believe in that because it's so much easier to stay consistent in what you're doing and what you're saying by having that as your primary go-to. Be invested in your people's growth. This is huge because people want to know you actually care about them. People want to know that you are invested in their continued learning, and if they are going to be a part of what you're doing, that they're constantly going to be getting value from you, regardless of, their position, their status, anything like that, that you have a vested interest in their growth. And that could be the smallest thing from, sending them out to courses or workshops or conventions or anything like that, or having one-on-one time with you and mentorship and guidance, whatever that is. Be invested in your people and they will be invested in you. Having the hard conversations is very difficult, and I want to get into this a little bit later on in the presentation because it's a topic within itself, and it's a lot of people have trouble having these conversations and being really honest with people because they don't want to hurt people's feelings. So I want to get into this a little bit later on why this is not the greatest way to go about having the conversation, and really coming from a place of wanting the person to grow and learn and get better. When you have those conversations or anything that comes up, taking emotion out of the situation is so powerful, because I'm sure most of you know, I'm Italian, and I have a very Italian streak when I get very passionate or angry about something. And so my team says my Italian comes out. So for me, it's really important to take the emotion out of what I'm doing, because that clouds so much of my judgment. And so I need to take maybe an hour or so, calm down, take it from here to here, and then see it from both sides and be able to take the emotion out when I'm having, you know, a difficult time with the news, or having to talk to somebody, or hearing, you know, things that don't appease me. So, and then willingness and attitude cannot be taught. And this is, again, something I want to get into greater detail, in that you have to understand how much time and energy you are putting into your people before you can't do it anymore. Like, there's a certain level or a certain amount that you want to invest in people, and to see how much they're investing back in you before you decide, is this relationship working? Is this going to be a good connection? Can I continue with this? Is this valuable for me? And is this valuable for the other person? And if they're not willing, and they have a bad attitude, and you've done everything that you can to try to change it, then I think it's time to make a decision. So, about how they are involved in your circle. Okay. So I'm just going to move this over. So everyone has their own vision of who they want to be as a leader. So we're going to do a little exercise here. So hopefully you guys have something to write this down. If not, I can always send you the slide later. But I want to start by identifying where you are today. I want you to just take a minute and write down the culture of, you know, the people that you're managing, or the business that you're in, and what could you improve on the culture of your business right now, and or in your life, in your home, anything to do with, you know, where you lead. What could you improve on? So take a second. Okay, and then I want you to write down 3 things you want to start doing to set the example, because as a leader, you have to demonstrate what you want to see back happening. You can't just expect people to start doing things that you say that you aren't doing too. So the only way that you can implement change is by being the change. So write down 3 things you want to start doing today that you want to set the example for in your organization. And then after this, I want you to just make a little note here about putting systems in place to create the culture you want. So systems are a great way to form habits. So for example, if I wanted to improve customer service in my organization, I might put a system in place for, you know, my people to report back on, you know, when they get a 5-star review, or report back on when they went above and beyond for a client, and give me 1 example a day that they're going above and beyond for a client. So putting systems in place to help you measure that success is really important. So systems create behavior, and behavior creates culture. Cool. So how culture is built. So I believe that there's 3 key successes when creating culture, and those are clarity, discipline, and consistency. So clarity for me, I'm somebody who has a million different ideas. And so when I'm trying to set a goal for my team, sometimes, you know, you can veer off into 100 different things, and then the idea itself gets really clouded and unclear. So for me, when I set an idea, my goal is to be as clear as possible with how I want it to be executed. So Brené Brown, in her book, Dare to Lead, love this book. Please write it down. Please read it. She has this example in her book which talks about painting done for her people. So that means if I hire somebody to do my website, And I just say, I need a home page, I need an about me page, and I need a book now page. But I don't give them any other, specifications on what I'm looking for or the color scheme or anything like that. And they come back and it's done and it's a beautiful site, but it's not what I envisioned. I'm going to be very disappointed. So if I'm not painting done for the people in whatever it is that I want them to do, then I'm going to always end up disappointed. And then there's going to be frustration and wasted time and energy. So when you can, paint done for whoever it is that you need to do a certain project for you. Tell them exactly all the details, what you want to feel, how you want it to look, what you want it to invoke in your customers or people. So it's really important that painting done aspect. I always sit down and say, I'm going to paint done for you. And I give them all the descriptions. I set the expectation so it's really clear. And so there's no question when it comes back that it shouldn't be done to that level or to that standard. Discipline is a very, very important thing, because if people aren't performing or are, acting out or uncharacteristically of what you expect of them, then it's really important to have those conversations and hold people accountable to their actions, because it's not okay to allow people to continue treating people disrespectfully or showing up to work unprepared or not bringing their best into work every single day, or into anything really. So holding people accountable is really important. And I know from experience that when you pull somebody in and you have that conversation about, why isn't this done, or you can do better, they truly appreciate it, because sometimes people just need a reminder that they are great and that they are capable. And sometimes people lose that zest for what they're doing and they just need a little kickstart again. So the discipline portion is actually really helpful. Consistency, so important. If you have one employee that you say one thing to and another employee or person that you say another thing to, or client, or, and you're inconsistent, and then let's say those two people talk and they said, oh, but that's not what she told me, and oh, I heard something different, it's going to be an earful and a headache when it comes to trying to explain why you did this for this person and not this for this person. So being consistent, not only in leadership, but also in business, is so important. It cuts out the gray area and the unknown, and it gets right to what you will do, what you won't do. And it's so important, especially when dealing with groups of people or people that you're leading, to be consistent with each one of them, because they all talk, it's a team environment, you're building culture this way. So please be consistent in everything that you're doing, no matter what. Because it shows that you care about every single person equally, and not more about one person and less about another, because that really hits home deep for some people. Awesome. Okay, so let's get into building your people. I'm just going to check my time here. Okay. So number one thing I think in building your people is, honestly, besides all this stuff that you see on the screen here, it's honestly about listening and being there for them, and listening to how, as an organization, you can do better, listening to what they need in there every single day to perform their tasks or do their job. It's really important just to listen, because then you can provide as much value as you possibly can for your people. So number one is change your expectations of leadership. So a lot of people have this inner desire to do what makes them feel good every single day. And sometimes people avoid, saying something or stepping up when they have to, because it's the easy way out. So sometimes that leads to the unwillingness to deal with difficult situations. So your job as a leader is not to allow people to get off easy. Your job as a leader is to, hold people accountable, to set the standard, to ensure that people understand, you know, what they should be doing, to set the vision. So by stepping back and allowing people to run the show, it no longer allows us to lead. So I'm just going to check here to see if we have any questions. Oh, we do have one. Okay. I'm going to go through this really quick. So we want to set expectations. So this, when you're meeting with people or in a group setting or having any sort of meeting, setting expectations is so important. It increases the value of the time that you're spending with other people. So when I meet with somebody, I want to know exactly, you know, what questions they have, how can I best prepare for this meeting, what do you need from me, what are you looking to get out of this meeting. So set the expectations right away that your time is valuable and their time is valuable, and by understanding what their needs are walking into it, that you can make your time together as valuable as possible. Now, number 3 is determine if you're people pleasing or people developing. Are you feeding insecurity or are you feeding the greater good? And when like I said in my previous story, when I first started my business, I'm still sometimes such a people pleaser. I love to give people what they want to hear sometimes, and that doesn't always mean that it leads to good things. Sometimes it means that I'm feeding the negative in them, or feeding that entitlement portion of who they are. And so it's important for me to stop and think about, you know, is this me people pleasing them, or can I step in, be a leader, and help them see a different perspective? And that in turn affects the greater good of the organization and the greater good of what we're trying to do. Number 4 is value people as much as you value yourself. So your value of yourself determines your personal investment in others. So I want to go through that. I think it's here, right here. So valuing people is a very high priority for me. I value people's time, I value their expertise, and I value what they're able to bring to the table. But I'm not able to do that unless I value myself first. So that personal growth, that self-development portion is so important as a leader, because your value assessment of yourself, it also determines your personal investment in other people. So the examples here are, if you feel worthy of an opportunity, you will give people opportunities. If you feel worthy of being developed, you will develop others. If you devalue yourself, you're probably going to devalue other people. And if you care about people, you will empower them, motivate them, and serve them. And that is truly what leadership is the empowerment, motivation, and you're here to serve. Those people are not there to serve you as a leader. You are here to serve them. You are here to show them that you bring value to the table and you truly care about their growth and development. And the last one here is going to be ask yourself the hard questions. So before I get into the hard conversations and the hard questions, one last thing I want to go over is leadership is not about being friends with everybody. And it's so hard for some people sometimes because you want to be liked, and I get it. I'm that person. It's like, why does that person like me? I don't understand. What did I do wrong? And it's not about you at the end of the day. It really isn't. It's just a reflection of something going on within them, and you pull out that insecurity that's going on within them. So please stop seeking affirmation. Stop trying to be everyone's friend. I want you to shift your focus from what you have to gain on how you can help people and how you can improve your organization and achieve that vision that you've set for yourself and for your organization. We went through setting expectations. Okay, and on that note of like practicing not being liked, I have had bad reviews. I've had people talk really shitty about me. I've had my employees say negative things after I've had to discipline them. And, I know at the end of the day, if I'm doing the right thing and I'm doing it with pure love and appreciation for who they are and respect for who they are, then I know that the right people at the end of the day will be there to support me. And so it's really important when you have to have those hard conversations with people, or if people are not meeting expectations, to have a game plan on how to tell them that, because it can be very difficult. So the first thing I like to do when I pull somebody in to have a hard conversation is to let them explain. You want to let them get everything off of their chest, because they have a lot of shit built up. They are somebody who's holding on to something, and they're letting every area of their life be permeated by it. So let them explain, let them get it off their chest. Then I ensure that I have that in-person conversation with them. It's really important for me to do it face-to-face, because text messages, emails, so much gets lost in that. So it's really important to really bring it full circle, be in it with them, be present with them one-on-one. It's important to me to be brutally honest. Like, unfortunately, sometimes it hurts, and unfortunately, it's not the easiest thing to do. And I get pretty shaky and uncomfortable, and my stomach goes into butterflies when I have to do it. But I know at the end of the day, I can rest easy knowing that I've had that really important conversation with that person. I like to re-review the expectations to say, you know, this is the standard, this is what, you know, is expected. And then, is there any way that I can help you? Can I offer you any value? Can we work together? Can we do some coaching? What can I do to help you? How can I support you in getting better? And then it's really important to set a timeline for improvement, because that timeline will show you if the person is truly serious about changing their behavior and their ways, and if it's going to be something that continues even after the conversation. All right. Often you see more potential in others than they see in themselves. So you need to be okay with where they choose to put their efforts and how they show up every day. So ultimately, if it's something you're not able to work through, or you're not having a productive environment, or that person is just unwilling and they have a bad attitude, sometimes you have to move on and find people who actually do fit what you need in your organization. And you have to be okay with doing that. And it can be tough. All right, last few slides here. Ask yourself the hard conversations, or ask yourself the hard questions before any tough conversation. So these are my list of questions that I go through before I choose to have a hard conversation with somebody. Have I invested enough in the relationship to be candid with them? Do I demonstrate that I value them as an individual? How much is them? How much is me? This is really important. This is why I have these questions, and it makes me stop and think, you know, am I willing to show them how to do something? Am I unwilling? Where am I resisting as a leader? Can I set clear examples, or is it just emotion that is clouding my judgment of them right now? So have you previously addressed the issue? What are the things that are coming up for you? So it's important that these questions help me reevaluate the situation and kind of flip it from a different perspective, so that I can see it from their perspective rather than from just my own. And that's really important for me, because I know so many people, it's almost like you're a horse with blinders on and you only see one thing. And it's important to kind of get the full perspective when dealing with anybody, because everyone is entitled to their perception. Everyone's entitled to the way that they feel. So you have to step into their shoes sometimes and understand them on that level, so that you can level with them and actually find common ground and break through. Wonderful. Last slide here is creating connection, how to do it. So for me, leadership is about forming connection in relationships. I think relationships for me are so important. They're probably the most important thing that matter to me, are my relationships with people. So to be able to show up as my true authentic self is so important. And if there's ever a situation where I feel like that authenticity is being questioned, I really have to question whether or not it's right for me. So showing up as that true authentic self really will help you embody being a leader. So you show up with emotional honesty. You want to show up with excellence, self-awareness, not just for your own feelings, but for the feelings of other people, and a willingness to receive feedback. So anytime I give somebody feedback, I always expect feedback back, because I know that there's always something that I can do better, and there's always something that I can learn from. And to think that I have reached the ultimate goal ever, that's not a thing. You never arrive in anything. In life, we never arrive. Life is a journey. So it's important to know that you have to have the willingness and openness to receive as well. Creating connections are really important to me, because I think having that human connection is the most powerful tool you can use as a leader. You want to speak your truth, you want to listen to understand, you want to be teachable, and you want to approach conflict rationally, like we talked about, see it from a different perspective. Listening to understand is probably one of the hardest things, I think, right now in our society, because we are so connected on so many devices, so many things, that to actually be present with somebody and listen to what they're saying and be curious and dive in further and just focus on who they are and what they're saying, and not diverting the conversation back to your own experience, is so powerful. One thing I want you guys to practice, try it this week, is when somebody is having a conversation with you, make it 100% about them. See how hard that is, because we revert to our own stories because that's our comfort. But where it gets uncomfortable is asking people and going deeper. And that's where that deep connection happens, is when you focus the attention not in yourself. Life is not about you, unfortunately. Your life here is about forming those connections with other people, going deeper, understanding, and, honestly, I believe I'm here to serve. And when I say that, it's because I truly care about other people, and I want to see the world become a better place. And the only way that I can do that is by understanding other people. All right, guys. So I just want to thank you again for listening to my little presentation on leadership. I hope you could take something away from what I have said, and we're going to do a Q&A soon. Hi, Grant.
Thank you, G. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Incredibly impressive. I'm super excited for you to roll out this course, because I think you're going to add a ton of value to a lot of people. And
thank you.
I really love your leadership style of being a servant leader, and I truly believe that is the best way to lead. And we have a few questions. For some reason, as the host, I don't think I'm able to type into the questions on the bottom of the screen, but I did have one. Maybe I can start by asking mine, or you could answer the others' questions first and then come back to it at the end.
Sure.
So,
let's do it.
Okay. Are you able to see the questions, or did you want me to read them out to you?
No, I can see them. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with Arturo. What courses, podcasts, books have you read to improve your leadership skills, and which ones do you recommend the most? Okay, good question. Like I said, I love Brené Brown. She's fantastic. The Dare to Lead book. Simon Sinek, obviously, Your Why. That is it's such a strong, powerful book. John Maxwell has phenomenal books. And I'm just trying to think. I honestly just like to go for coffee with people who inspire me, who I believe are leaders in the community. And so that's important to me, to just bounce ideas off of them, of how I could better, show up in a situation, or how I can better, have dealt with a past situation. So yeah. Grant, do you have any books that you recommend?
I like the Dichotomy of Leadership. It's a really great book that I recently read. I don't know if there's any one in particular that stands out. Right now I'm reading Mindfulness.
Yes.
It's a really good book. There's a lot of self-reflection in that. But yeah.
Beautiful. Brittany says, what types of businesses have you built? Good question. I built quite a few. So my first business was Browse by G. It is a body modification establishment where we do everything from cosmetic tattooing to shaping, tinting, everything eyebrow focused. From that business, I was able to create a sister company called Browlux, and it's a eyebrow pencil line. That kind of coincides with Brows by G, but they're two different companies and two different teams. And then I also have my personal brand where I do coaching, consulting, and mentorship for entrepreneurs. I mostly work with female entrepreneurs, but I've worked with everybody. And then my husband and I just started our fourth business called Simple Growth, and that's going to be an online platform for learning skill sets, real life examples of what you need to start a business from the ground up. Awesome. Lana says, how do you get others to earn your respect, and how do you get people to buy into your ideas? That is a very good question. For me personally, respect is definitely earned through them being able to trust you. So doing what you say you're going to do, investing in their growth, ensuring that they're supported in their roles, and if they're having any issues that they can trust that they can come to you, and being really open and honest with them about what you need, having the clarity, showing up every day. Like that whole respect thing doesn't happen overnight. And it's almost like, you know, when an egg hatches, you're like, oh, it's a miracle, but what's going on in the egg before it hatches, no one sees. So it's all the work that you're doing before, all the little things that you're putting in every single day that equate to earned respect. And for me, it's not about people buying into my ideas. It's more buying into why I think that idea will work. Like the idea of why is super important, because people need to get behind, you know, that big picture, that vision that you have. And so when you are excited about it and you show them the potential and the ability to grow something, and they want to be a part of that, then you have the right people on your team. But not everyone's going to buy into your ideas, and that's okay. You just need to find the right people. Hope that makes sense. Brandon, do you have any tools that you use to ensure you are listening to understand? Yes. So a really great tool is I call getting curious. And so when somebody is telling me a story, I always like to respond with a question that goes deeper and not making it about me or telling my story or, you know, oh, that one time when it happened to me. It's always about tell me more, or could you deeper, tell me a time when. And so going deeper into the stories that they're telling you and listening to the specific details and remembering those details are so important to people. When you remember the tiniest details that they tell you, people are blown away by just that little thing. It's magical, and people will remember it, that you cared to that degree. Annika, what are your best tips for staying motivated to take action to build your business every day? That is a great question. Grant, do you want to answer that one?
Well, for me, I just have a super massive vision, and I have this like burning desire in me that I need to prove to myself that I'll accomplish that vision no matter what. And I think I have this, my biggest fear is not realizing my full potential in life. And I have a reoccurring dream that I go to Hawaii and it's the last day of my trip, and I haven't gone surfing yet, and I haven't gone on any hikes, and I haven't seen all the sites that I had planned to. And one day I realized that the reason why I have this reoccurring dream is that I'm scared that I'm going to make it through life and not accomplish everything that I could have. So I'm wired a certain way that like I'm continually growing and pushing every single day to get better. So that's just how I'm wired. So I don't know if it's the way my mind works. Like, I don't know if there's a certain trick, but I'm just always trying to to improve every single day, to get smarter, to read more, to listen to more podcasts, to learn from the people that I meet with or work with, be a better leader.
Yeah.
You know. So.
That's amazing. Amazing. Yeah. Great answer. So I hope that answers.
Very candid. I've only told like 2 people the story about that dream. So, well, I guess 25 people.
25 now. Yeah. That's so great. And like that vulnerability to show exactly, you know, that fear, that reoccurring fear in yourself. And that's what's motivating you, is that you want to experience everything that life has to offer and be able to take it by the horns and do exactly what you were placed on this earth to do. So that's pretty admirable. I'm very proud of you. That's awesome. All right, next question is, what if you had that difficult conversation with your staff and they hear you, understand, and see your perspective, however, nothing changes? I understand that you said to set a timeline, but how many chances do you give them before they change? 1. I have like a 3-strike rule, actually. So first one is like I do a verbal warning, then I do a written warning and a timeline. And then if I don't see it by that timeline, then they don't have the willingness and they're not meant to continue. So it's important to me to put in as much time and effort as I can up until that point. But if there's no willingness being reciprocated, then it's time to say, you know, this isn't working. This isn't a good fit anymore. So. Is that kind of on the same wavelength as you, Grant?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome, cool. Any tips relating to wellness coaching to help me be a better leader when I'm working with my clients? Ooh, wellness coaching, yes. I think for clients, especially being a leader in that, is that, you know, especially if they are not showing up how you need them to, or maybe they're not following their diet or their workout, it's really important to dive deeper as to why. Because a lot of people have certain blocks or certain stories that they tell themselves that they believe that you have to work past with them, and to get to that vulnerable state as to why they're not completing these things or why they're not doing those things is really important. So if you have the ability and the chance to dive deeper with your clients, it's going to just open up such a new level of trust and a new level of understanding between both of you, so that you know how to better show up and serve them. Because if you know that they need extra motivation, or you know that they're scared of this, or this is deterring them from showing up, then you can adjust and get better if you know exactly that reason behind it. So I hope that helps. What are the steps you can take to value yourself before you value others? Ooh, that's a great question. It's important for me to know that, you know, I have specific unique gifts within myself, and other people have specific unique gifts that they have as well. So if you can focus on all the positives and everything that you are able to bring into this world, and why you're here and what your purpose is to serve or do, I think focusing on that is so important, so that you stop comparing yourself to other people. This comparison game is so strong right now because of social media, because everyone's life is a highlight reel. And I actually just took a week off of Instagram, and it was the best thing I ever did. It's really important to stop the comparison, because everyone's on their own journey. So if you can recognize that in your own life, I believe it's really important to better show up for others. Because if you feel insecure, that's going to translate very quickly to somebody else. If you are negative, it translates. So it's important to look inward, work on yourself, you know, boost yourself up and feel good about where you're at and what you're doing, so that you can show up better for other people. What about you, Grant?
I had a question that I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you went through that life event, and you lost some people from your team,
yeah,
and you were questioning yourself as a leader, and questioning if you were doing in the right business, and you maybe were upset or sad or down on yourself, or your confidence was rattled or whatever. what was the single biggest factor that got you to change your approach to leadership, or like what happened in that moment? Did you, go into seclusion for a little bit, or was there a certain person in your life that you leaned on, or did you go into like an aggressive study mode where you started to read more books or listen to more podcasts, or was it all of the above? Like,
Yeah.
what happened for you to change to the point where now you're delivering webinars on how to be an amazing leadership? So,
Yeah.
or how to be amazing leader. So obviously there was a huge shift.
Yes, that's a fantastic question. I would definitely say it was a little bit of everything, but mostly in the beginning, it was straight aggression, like straight, like I need to get my shit together, and like I need to work harder than anybody, and I need to put my head down and like get out of this hole that I've dug for myself. And so by just putting my head down and forgetting that, honestly, that those people existed for a bit, and just like really focused on me and like my business, and that I was my only competitor, and that my only competition was myself, and I could only outdo myself. That was my first thought point that I started on. And then it kind of shifted obviously to a bit to the insecurity and seclusion. And you kind of go through this roller coaster of like, am I good enough? Am I not? Is this what I'm meant to be doing? And so from there, those lows really taught me and humbled me to really focus in on what I wanted to bring more of into my life, because it gave me the chance to change the way that things were and start fresh. And so I had a fresh slate, and I could say and start and do anything that I wanted in my business and feel like I was making those decisions based off of the organization, based off of my needs and wants, based off of my vision of the company. And so by doing that and having that clean slate, it was actually a blessing in disguise to just set the tone going forward. And ever since that point, I haven't stepped down from what I expect, and what I expect is excellence. And so nothing but excellence will do. And so having that mindset of, only wanting the best and only having the best team has allowed me now to build this phenomenal team of people who are just like the most talented, most incredible team I could have ever asked for. And, when I was in that low place, I never thought that this was possible, but I envisioned it and I really wanted it. And so I think that that pure desire to want to bring in more of that in my life just ended up happening. And then when that started to happen, it was really great that other people started to look to me for guidance in that area, and I could just share everything I went through and everything I learned.
Amazing. How long ago was that, when you kind of went through your troublesome time, or what year?
Yeah, I think it started about 2.5 years ago. Yeah. I would say 2.5 years ago. But I learned so much like throughout the process and then after that process. And it was like, you got to learn this right now, or else you're going to continue to do the same thing over and over again, and you're going to have the same results. So, yeah.
So in hindsight, would you say that was probably the best thing that ever happened to you?
And yes. Yeah. Like, unfortunately, people have to do what's best for them. And I so appreciate that. And that's so important to me. But I think at the time I couldn't see the light, and now it's like, wow. So like, thank you for that. Like, I'm so grateful for that experience now. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Beautiful. Do you want me to continue with the questions, or how are we doing for time?
I think we just have one more, and then we could probably wrap it up, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do. Okay. Okay, the last two are kind of similar. It talks about like, if you're a young professional wishing to be a leader in starting your career, do you need to have experience in your industry to be a leader? Or what advice would you give someone in an entry-level position to build up leadership throughout their career? This is so great because when I was 19, I started working for Joey Restaurants, and at the age of 19, more than anything, I wanted to manage. And the general manager at the time sat me down and said, "You're too young. I don't think that you're going to be able to do this. Like, you know, you're managing people who are older than you, this and that." And so I could have taken that and said, "Oh, he's right. Oh, I'm not capable," and like believed what he was putting out there. But instead, I decided to say, "No, I'm capable. Give me the chance. I want to learn. Put me in, coach." And so at the age of 19, I was actually the company's youngest manager. And I went through a lot of professional development, and honestly, wanting the eagerness to want to take on more and showing willingness and like showing up at, you know, the person who's leading you or your supervisor, manager, showing up to your office, being like, "What else can I do? I want more responsibility," showing them that you're capable, learning things that pertain to your industry, like being the knowledge holder, having authority in that space, and going above and beyond in what you're doing will always make you stand out and immediately put you in a leadership position. And leadership is just showing up and having relationships with the people around you. So I really believe that those two things, and when you merge it together, that's what's going to really create that environment for you and that opportunity for you. So I hope that helps.
Okay, so I think we've reached our time, and I just wanted to thank you on behalf of GFIT. The webinar was incredible.
Thank you.
And, it's very easy to see why you've been so successful thus far, and you're continuing to build an amazing empire and help a lot of people. So thank you so much, and wish you nothing but success going forward. And we appreciate you and sharing your stories with us, especially some of the, you know, personal insights and some of the vulnerable moments that you've gone through in order to get to where you are today. So
that means so much to me. I just want to say thank you too, like what you've built with the wellness portion of it. I'm so excited. I think so many people are going to benefit from it. And I'm so excited to see what else is in store, because it's just been magic, everything that you touch. So thank you, GFIT. Thank you, everyone who's been on the webinar. Thank you for your time. I'm very grateful.
Thanks, G.
Thanks, guys. See you later.